Welcome to SML Total Access, where we break down news, predictions, and more in our Madden League. Now, let's get fired up for SML football.
And welcome to SML Total Access. I am Primetime 000, joined by Matt and Dan. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, we're back.
Hey, the longest running show in connected franchise mode, SML Total Access, voted on by SML members as the best show on SML Network for many years now. Guys, season 79 is over. Obviously, we're well into season 80, which is crazy enough. Just thoughts on last season, surprises, stuff like that. And Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't think there were any surprises. I mean, you went through the NFC. I think that's to be expected. I thought AJ was I don't know if I want to call it surprise, because I think of the 6 other guys that make the NFC, I think any of them can technically win 2 games to make the NFC Championship game as long as they don't play you. But it was a good story. I don't think AJ had won a playoff game before then, at least this cycle. He'd pretty much been one and done. But he finally got the 2 seed. That was nice to see. He got absolutely obliterated, but hey, at least he made it. That was good to see. And then on the AFC, I mean, I think you've got it kind of went as expected, except the AFC is a little bit more unpredictable, but it really is just your 2 guys. It's Dan and Bomber. I mean, I know they let Alex sneak through. I don't know exactly how that happened. KP, he wants to be like me, win one, and then never do anything again.
Yeah.
But I thought that obviously the elephant in the room is the Super Bowl. I'm not surprised Bomber won. Bomber's a really good player. He's clearly able to stop the run this cycle for the most part, as good as anybody can, and that puts him a step ahead of anybody and everybody. I just was shocked at how he won. I think if you play that game 100 times, it's probably the only time that game goes that way. But hey, that's why we play the game, and Bomber played well. You didn't, and yeah, hats off to Bomber.
Dan?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're starting to see a little bit of a trend of is just lack of upsets in the playoffs. The biggest one, I think, maybe the whole cycle right now would have been MMX beating Stavo, but I haven't really seen too many real upsets, which is a little disappointing. I think that makes some intrigue. The NFC's just kind of been going ho-hum, and I think that's probably why that game was such a lopsided game for Prime. Not that he hasn't faced competition, because he has, but he hasn't really faced a moment where the offense and defensive lines were just completely against him, and he was playing against a guy that can take advantage of it. And I think that's what caught him off guard. I think he's learned a little bit from that. I think he can adjust and not get himself in such a hole. But I believe that season you had that was probably your 3rd game that happened to you a little bit like that. I think happened early on against Damon, then it happened against ZBD.
Yeah.
Those regular season games, and you kind of, whatever, you just kind of have a ha, okay, you got me, that kind of game. But this was a Super Bowl, and it happened to him, and I just don't think he was prepared and ready for it, and Bomber took full advantage of it. So Bomber had one of the better runs that we've seen. He did the same thing to me. I think once he got over that hurdle of being the heavy favorite and beating Eddie, he could settle in and just kind of play his game. And I do think him not being commissioner of Primer is helping him out a lot. Less Madden, I think, is a good thing for Bomber. And I think he's going to be a force the rest of the cycle.
Yeah, no, for me, obviously the surprise was the MMX upset over Stavo, and then the Super Bowl. Obviously, I anticipated winning the game, and I feel like I played flat. Obviously, I couldn't stop the run. I do feel like that is a little random at times, because I didn't do anything different than I did against AJ, and I think he had like 20 yards rushing with Sally. So, but overall, you got to tip your cap to Bomber. Kind of a long time coming. His first Zimbardi in 4 years or something. Now the question is for Bomber, and I'm glad he hasn't said it, because sometimes guys will say this line and it's like a pet peeve of mine. It's like, okay, I got my Zimbardi, I'm done for the cycle. It's like, no, like, do it again. Like, can you get 2 in a cycle? Can you be one of those guys that gets multiple in a cycle? And that's the challenge for Bomber now. Is he won 1? Now he's proved that that wasn't a fluke. I know that Browns team was loaded, and there's freight train, and there's all those things to go with it. Now he's won one with again. Now can he win 2 in a cycle? That's going to be the big step for him is getting the multi-Simbardi cycle and being one of the top guys of a cycle. And that might segue us into the next conversation here, which is who is having the second best cycle? Obviously, most people would say I've had the best with 3 Simbardis and I think 5 appearances, and then there's probably a gap, and then there's number 2. So who would you guys say is having the second best cycle? And Dan, you'd be in the running. I know you don't have a Simbardi, but some people would put you up there. Are you going with yourself?
I think I'm playing as good as I've ever played Madden before. I don't think there's any question about how I'm playing, but I'm not good enough for winning 3 in a row or 4 in a row, which I need for the Simbardi. So I don't think my second season is going to be any different than my first season, whether or not I can get over the hump. Same thing with Bomber. I think Bomber is going to be kind of this natural progression. I'm really still hoping for guys like Damon on the NFC side. I'm hoping for guys like maybe Steele, although he just lost the trick last night, if he can pull it together. But unfortunately, I really think it's just going to be the same guys doing the same thing. I think Bomber, myself, Prime, we've put good teams together. We know what we're doing. We're learning the game, and there's still a little fire underneath us. So I don't think I'm going to see much of a change. I think it's going to be the same way the rest of the cycle.
Matt?
So who's having the second best cycle?
Dan, that was a political answer. If Dan was a politician, that was well done.
Oh, I have to give an exact one? Who's going to have the next?
In the Madden, think about it this way, Dan. Cycle rankings, cycle's over right now.
Yeah.
How we do the video. Prime would be 1. Who'd be 2?
I'm going to be 2. I'm going to be better than Bomber. I know that.
Okay. Wow. Even if you don't win a Simbardi?
No, well, that's debatable depending on what Bomber does.
Okay.
I do think AFC title games, playoff wins, multiple appearances kind of balance out 1 missed playoff and 1 Simbardi win. But if we go even the rest of the way, I would probably give it to Bomber. But if I just feel like I'm going to be right there. I'm not going to bow out early. I've lost the Super Bowl champion, I think, every season except Raider fans. So
wow.
If you want to win a Simbardi, you got to beat me. That's my motto.
Wow. Matt, what do you think, buddy?
All right, let's get Marco Rubio out of here. I'm going to give you a straight answer here. And I'm surprised that my answer is such a hot take. The league just really, really likes to give out participation trophies, and it's really interesting. Look, you either win a Simbardi or you don't. I don't care if you make the playoffs every single time, you win 80% of your games. If you didn't win a Simbardi, your cycle was a failure. So at this point, the number 2 second best cycle is between Bomber and KP, and I'm going to give it to Bomber because I will take winning as a tiebreaker there, and without looking at the stats. So KP, certainly come up behind me and let me know that I was wrong, but I think KP had a couple of down seasons, and so I'm going to give the nod to Bomber for having a little bit better win percentage, but it's Prime. There's a sizable gap after that, a very sizable gap. Then it's Bomber, then it's KP, and then it's everybody else starting with Dan. Look, I don't know why we all want to get in a circle and hug each other for good job. You won a couple of games. You won a playoff game. Good job, good job, good job. You won your Weenie Hut division. You either won the Simbardi or you didn't. And that's the bottom line.
Wow.
That's one of the worst takes you've ever had in your entire life. That's just so stupid. If I lose 6 straight, if I lose 6 straight seasons, if I lose 6 straight seasons, pick top 5 for 6 straight seasons, build the best, greatest team in the world, and then win a Simbardi, that makes my cycle complete. That's the dumbest argument in the world. Do you know how many times I beat KP in a row? Do you know how many times I've owned him this entire cycle? He's never won the division. The entire cycle, never won the division. So he made one run, and that puts him above someone else. That's the dumbest take.
Well, here's a question.
I've ever heard that you ever made.
To beat KP, not win a Super Bowl? Is that the whole point of your cycle? Is to beat KP and lose the Super Bowl?
Oh, it's to beat KP, but we're not asking the question of what's the point of the cycle. We're asking who had the best cycle. So all you're saying is win a Simbardi, and that makes your cycle the best one,
right? The Simbardi's why
That's
we
the
play.
dumbest.
We don't play
Well,
to beat KP or to make the playoffs. We play to
well,
win.
now
with
I know why
Simbardi.
you don't try for every season and you end up never making the playoffs because it doesn't matter to you. If you can't win the Simbardi, then who cares what the season does? That's the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Not if you can't. If you don't.
Wow.
We're not talking
Dumbest
about.
take.
Oh.
And that's saying a lot. That is the absolute dumbest take in the world. I'll give you Bomber over me because I think Bomber's had a very consistent season. That's 100%. KP, he hasn't been relevant. He's won like 2 playoff games. He's won
Define
like, or
relevancy.
maybe
He won a Simbardi. That's relevancy. You either
he
won one
made,
or
he
you
made
didn't.
one run. Right. You're right. It's just like you and Woods last cycle. You guys were no relevancy except for one season. That doesn't make a cycle. That's why everyone says it's a hot take because it's a
Is
dumb
anybody
take.
in the NFC relevant? They're not
Dumb
winning
take.
anything.
Dumb
Is
take.
anybody in the NFC relevant? No. Who cares? They're all
No,
going to
because
get.
they haven't
they're all
beaten
gonna get
Prime.
stomped.
They haven't beaten Prime.
Yeah. Neither
Yeah,
of you.
they've got to at least beat Prime.
I'll
take.
split.
Absolutely dumb take.
I'll settle this with my list. Number 1, obviously, is me. I'm gonna have Bomber at 2. I think Bomber and Dan have had similar playoffs. I know Dan's made somebody twice. Bomber's made it once. So one more appearance for Dan. I think Bomber missed the playoffs once. But to me, that
Bomber missed the playoffs, and I don't think he has a playoff win outside of this run.
really,
Or maybe he had one. If that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I still think Bomber winning that one with a pretty consistent regular season puts him above Dan. The debate where Matt and Dan are having between KP, he's won a Super Bowl, but then he missed the playoffs twice in 5 seasons. Is that would you rather in 5 seasons miss the playoff twice or make it every season, but you win the Super Bowl, or make it every season but never win? To me, when I look back at my cycle, nobody will remember how many playoffs I've missed. They'll only remember how many Simbaris I've won. That's me. But the argument can be made that Dan was a better player overall. But overall, when I look back at the banners on the website, I would rather be KP over Dan.
I just think that's a cheesy way to get out of it because all you have to do is just have one good run and you can have, how much easier it is to build a team when you're drafting pick 12, pick 14 without any trades. I mean, it's basically handed to you. Like the guys that are picking early every single, there's zero excuse for you guys to not build a super team. You might not win because you can't necessarily play well or you don't know the game as well, but you should have a super team by now if you've been picking early. The guys that get to pick early versus the guys that are consistently making runs year after year, it's not even compared apples to apples. So that's where I just disagree with KP. That's why I think Bomber ahead of me. That's fine because he's been picking high because he's made decent runs. KP hasn't. He hasn't even won the division. So all those things to me, that's not a cycle complete.
Now,
and if you ask the question, I would rather have my cycle right now than KP's.
Now, last cycle, we had the top 10, and I'll try to maybe share it in chat later on, but Matt was like number 8. He didn't make the top 5, even though he's one of the 5 guys that won a Simbardi or something. So it's definitely a real debate. Here's a question now, moving on to topic 3.
Hold on, Prime, but you have to realize there's 32 guys in this league. 28 of them didn't have a Simbardi when they voted, so of course they're going to want a group hug and ask Meats to put up. I went 9-8 twice banners. They all want a group hug. Of course they're going to vote that Simbardis don't matter, but that's the whole reason we're playing.
That's a good point.
Anyways.
That's a good point. Number 3 topic, and we didn't have this one written down, but I shared this in chat the other day, being goofy, and it was tongue in cheek, but what do you guys think? So I think it was last cycle. There was like 2 seasons to go, and I was like, hey, pretty much just to spice things up, to let you guys have fun. There's like pretty much no trade rules. It just has to get approved by the trade committee. It was something like that. What if we said final season or 2, you can trade teams with somebody. If Prime wants to trade with Woods and be the Jags owner because Woods is tired of his division and Prime's tired of his division and his team, and he wants to play Dan twice a year, the league admins would have to approve it, and it would be done. And then you could trade teams for the last season or 2 to spice things up because maybe you're getting division fatigue or team fatigue, just to keep things light. Matt, what do you think?
That sounds like an administrative nightmare with because I don't think you can switch teams in the game, right? You have to everyone has to retire and then join back,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't have. I'm assuming you don't have your coach abilities and all that kind of stuff. It does sound like an administrative nightmare. I mean, I kind of like it because again, the last season, I kind of like the thought of keep doing something that as because the new game's been introduced and the features, and we're getting ratings and things like that, and people are just ready for the new game. So something to spice it up. I I hate to introduce topic number 2 back into it since we got a little heated on that one, but how does that affect cycle rankings if you take the Jaguars and
Mm-hmm.
Woods takes the Lions and then Woods makes the Super Bowl with the Lions and you don't with the Jags, and how do you compound all that? I think it's a cool idea. I still think take the trade rules out, let everybody stay as their team because it makes everything easier, but I think that spices it up enough. So I'm not in love with the idea. And I'd be very curious what Dan's thoughts are since he doesn't think the last season really matters anyway.
Yeah, I like the idea of spicing it up. I agree. Last season doesn't matter as much because again, there's fatigue, vacations like that. I like the no trade rules. I like the idea of potentially no abilities. Maybe the last season. Like to see that. I think again, it's nice theory, but as Matt said, the logistics of it is going to be too hard. So what if we're like, okay, yeah, Prime's going to trade with Woods, but then Woods is making a deal with NYT and Mike, and then Finns, and they're all going to then trade and swap their teams. Like, how do you decide who keeps what team and where it goes? And they're just all trying to build up, a division that they want to be in just for the last. It just seems a little hard, but I'm all in favor of any kind of different adjustments just to bring some little life into the last season and make it more entertaining.
Yeah. I think the rule is kind of a fun one to think about. Like many things in Madden leagues, the execution is often what makes it difficult, and how do you put the regulations and laws to make it work. But I do think it would be fun if we said, hey, Prime, I'm going to trade with KP, and I'm going to take my Colts back, and KP can have the Lions, and hey, if KP goes and wins the Super Bowl with the Lions, maybe that diminishes some of Prime Sambardi's. But what if he doesn't? What if KP loses round 2 in the playoffs? Then what does that say? And you're kind of taking the risk. You're like LeBron joining the Heat, and you win 2 titles or so, 2 or 3 titles. Was that a success or not? I don't know. Compared to what many people expected. So, yeah, I don't think practically it would work. I do like the idea of spicing it up. I know the idea of no abilities has been tossed around a couple times. I know we did the no trade rules. So yeah, I'm open to cute suggestions to spice things up. Let me preface this by saying 99% of them will be rejected, maybe 100%. But
Yeah, I do really like the no abilities thing. I think a lot of people have asked for that. I assume they were serious in totality, like just get rid of abilities, period, ever, forever. So I think it'd be cool to just kind of see what it's like, or maybe Dan has this theory that comp mode plays better than sim as far as pass rush and stuff. If I don't know if an existing franchise can be altered in that way, but maybe put the last season on comp and see what happens, or maybe test a new rule. Do we want to allow run commit? Maybe make it legal for the final season and see how games play out, things like that. So I think it could be used as a testing ground too.
Yeah. I will say though, and I've hammered this a million times, I still think it counts. The Simbardi counts regardless. But
I think it counts. I'm not going to disagree that it counts. I'm just saying it counts lesser than the rest because of Madden fatigue.
I see. We've got an action-packed episode here today, boys, and some of these new guys are learning that you better win now, because if you don't, beating Prime last season in the playoffs in the NFC won't count as much. Just so you guys know, Damon. Just so you know. Topic 4. Let's spread the love on someone. Dan, who you spreading it on?
I'm gonna spread it on some guys that kind of, if you look at the box score, if you look at the standings, you'll be like, what in the world? But I just want to spread some love on Finns and Coop. I mean, these guys have jumped into the league. They are getting their butts handed to them every single game. They are clueless. They're running around with their heads cut off. But man, it is great just to have these OGs back in the league. These are guys you can trust. These are guys that schedule well. These are guys that are going to have fun, even if they don't always win. They are a bonus to the league, and man, it's great to have them back. So I do think we need to probably commentate that Coop versus Finns game. I think is coming up in a few weeks. I think just for an OG battle for the one seed, not one seed, sorry, the one number overall pick. Just have some fun with it because those guys are good guys to have in the league, and I'm glad to have them back.
That's good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad to see Coop and Finn's back, some familiar faces. I'm going to share my love with QP. Um, I realized that he's been neutered now that I took set feet lead away from him. He has one win. He's going to get his second. That's a force win. So he's going to have one actual win over an actual human being. He's currently in jail. The quarterback I sent him is now suspended for 3 games, his first 3 suspensions of his career. So QP, if you want Mahomes back, 2 first rounders, I would give you your powers back, buddy. I feel absolutely terrible for having done that to you. So just hit me up, dude. Cell phone. I think you have my number from the Nashville trip. Give me a call, DM, whatever. Just 2 firsts. We'll get it done today. And then the NFC South, just because they also need it. We just talked about MMX upsetting Stavo. He's currently 1-4. ZBD was in the playoffs, and he took AJ to the brink. If he knew that AJ threw curl routes in the red zone, he would have beat him. And so he's also 1-4. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if those were just Cinderella runs, and they're back to normal. But ZBD, MMX, Bomber just gave you the blueprint. He just absolutely throttled Stavo. 6 interceptions from Josh Allen. Go watch that film, take something away, hit up Bomber, and go win that division.
For me, who I'm spreading my love on, it's Eddie. 2-3, he's looking up in a bad division. It does not look good. But Eddie, I'll tell you this. The world ain't always sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees if you let it. You, me, and nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you get hit. It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Eddie, you're 2-3. You're tied with DW. For the love of God, win a game, Eddie. You're making me look bad. That's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Did you read that Rocky quote word for word? I wasn't paying attention.
I had it pulled up.
Yeah, I can tell.
Don't forget to visit your mother.
Yes.
That's the last part of it.
Yes. Yeah. Matt, do your 5 on us, man. Do your little trick.
Yeah, this is tough. The 1 and 2 are simple, and then it gets really dirty. And so I think critiquing this list is welcome. At number 5, I've got Dan. This is actually really tough because there's 2 undefeated teams above him, but I could make a case to put Dan above those undefeated teams because I think if those undefeated teams played Dan's only loss, which is Prime, they would also not be undefeated. But it is Dan. I think the hard thing about Dan right now, he hasn't beat anybody. If he had a signature win, I think I could put him above the undefeated guys, but he doesn't. At number 4, I've got AJ. Look, this guy, I don't know if he just Mr. Perfect, his birthday, whatever it is, the easiest schedule known to man for a first 5 games. So he hasn't beat a single soul. His next 5 are absolutely brutal. I think it's Stavo, Prime, KP, maybe Dan in there. It's brutal. He could go from 5-0 to 5-5 very, very easily. But right now he's a very unimpressive 5-0. At number 3, I've got Damon, who also really hasn't beat anybody, but he did beat Soda, who's 2-3, and I beat Soda, so I'm not quite sure where I feel on Soda, but by name, he has beat someone more impressive than Dan and AJ. At number 2, I've got Prime, rolling right along. The wins over Dan, the absolute domination of Soda in a statement game puts Prime at number 2, and at number 1, it's Bomber. I always put if the reigning champ hasn't lost, he's number 1 for me, and so that's going to be Bomber.
That's a fair list.
Bomber doesn't really. He's beat Tug, he beat QP, but again, QP's been neutered. But he did just absolutely throttle Stavo, and that was a very impressive. He should have won by more, yet it was still very impressive how he beat him. So, hats off to Bomber.
Dan, you had something to say?
No, I think that's a great list. I don't disagree one bit. You got to play the guys in front of you. You got to judge that. I got no shame with that. I got a little lackadaisical mentally against Prime, or I would have been undefeated as well. But for where the teams are right now, it's a good list, Matt.
That was the Map 5. That was SML Total Access. Boys, this is why this is the best show on the SML network. You heard it going toe-to-toe, some sparring. And I'll say this right now. I'm going 20-0 this season, boys. Watch out for that. Prime's back, baby. Take care, everyone.